there you have it, New Day on TV3, and we're discussing the revival of cinema in Ghana. Yes, we have Silverbird, located at the Accra Mall, which most people say not everybody can make their way all across town. Back in the days, my mom always used to say there were cinemas everywhere. Now we already know, as you saw from that video, things are not quite the case. Well, to help Benny and I discuss revival of cinema, we have none other than veteran actor, amazing man, Mr. Kofi Buckner.
Hello.
How are you?
Yeah.
I mean, looking at that video, when they showed the posters of the Indian, the Bollywood movies, we're like, oh, I actually remembered being a kid and seeing those. It was an event I was very young, but from what my older cousins and my mom and people used to go to the cinema.
Oh yes.
You used to go, but now, unless you can run across to the mall, which most people, let's be honest, it doesn't cut across to the average person living on average income. And what were those days like for most of us who didn't experience it?
Cinema is an incredible experience. For young people of all ages. Typically, if you went out on a date, a decent, gentlemanly date, you had a cinema to start with, to sort of create the ambience for, enjoying the rest of the night. And we also saw some incredible films. I remember I was a very good boy in school, but I did break away from St. Augustine's to come all the way to Orion to watch The Godfather.
Oh, wow.
And we had viewing friends, it was a social event. We had people, just the people in the hall became something like a family for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
And we had a great time. There was also an incredibly important focus group for socialization. When there was any discussion about an issue or of any political interest, in the cinema hall, the free discussion of these issues was also part of the unspoken dialogue that went on in there. So it was incredible. And it's unfortunate that it's been completely sidelined. But you will see that other countries that have the new technology still have cinema.
Okay, so that's a good question then, Kofi. Is it modern technology that has brought us to this state with our cinemas? Because now, for instance, if you compare back in the day, if you were paying 1 cedi to go to the cinema, now you can actually pay that 1 cedi and get a DVD copy and watch in the comfort of your own home.
Alone.
VCD.
With my friends.
VCD.
Yeah, well, a couple of friends. The viewing experience with a room full of people is something that you really need to experience to understand. It's an incredibly social forming experience. People from all walks of life would come in there and watch a film and walk away with the same lessons and the same attitude. And it's also important that other countries have used it to socialize their people into a certain kind of perception of themselves. So I don't think that new technology can be actually completely to blame. No, there are new ways of using new technology and to get the same effect.
Right.
What really, part of the reason the industry was destroyed was also because everybody who lived on it tried to live on it too much. If you as a Ghanaian filmmaker sent your film to the theater, the owner would have 55%, the government would tax 25%, and then between your publicity and the actual cost, you couldn't make it. So when Ghanaian films could have taken over the cinemas, the industry itself, without proper regulation, allowed the filmmakers then to lose. So they stopped.
So they killed themselves.
And then there was piracy. The piracy with VHS was much worse than it is now.
Yes.
Especially since there was no distribution system.
Yeah.
So these are the reasons, the combination of reasons. But I think also the states taking its eye off the importance of this medium for the development of the country. I think that is also an important.
Okay, let's talk about trying to revive it. I know currently filmmaker Kosia Adomowusu, she has been on a campaign and a fight to revive and save the Rec Cinema, which, and funny enough, is only needed $8,000 to at least get it, in the state of getting revived. And she's been managed to raise 9,000, and she'll be here next week to get it done. Why isn't the government, why isn't the authorities, the actors union, directors union, taking up this fight? And she came from the US, she's Ghanaian, of course, but it's almost like a lone fight that she had to go out and seek sponsorship, and mostly from the outside, to do this. Why are we? It seems like we're not interested here.
Well, I think you probably nailed it. I mean, you use the word only 8,000, and the instructive word there is only. The other part of it is the lack of will. Is the will to do it, and you named it. Essentially, I think everybody's become so jaded by the way it's gone on that nobody has really paid any attention to it, and everybody's looked at the easiest way to get on with this. Many of the people in the industry have lost their livelihoods, have had to do other things to put bread on the table, and so they don't look too fondly on any aspect of the industry now. Those who have come later are using the video distribution system to make their... So it's like as if those who are using now have a system that they've worked with.
Yeah.
And those who had the experience with cinema are not even looking.
Yeah. Let's say, for instance, hypothetical cinema such as Rex is revived, is re-established. How do we actually get people to buy back into it? I mean, because especially when you have the likes of Silverbird, fully air-conditioned, nice equipment, it may be more expensive, but then compare that to being in an open area, being bitten by mosquitoes, I would probably choose the former.
Yes, well, it may be a little more comfortable, but really, cinema viewing experience, except in these days of exceptional ease, is not necessarily an air-conditioned environment. In fact, the real hectic film watching, doesn't benefit from air conditioning. People standing up and shouting. There are certain words and phrases that you may not even...
Oh, I remember that.
Oh, yeah.
Blue man. Jack.
Yes.
And the other ones that we cannot use on television.
Oh, wow.
Exactly. So, the experience will speak for itself.
Yeah.
To have young people have something else to do but drink or get into trouble, and have something interesting to do together, where they can be spoken to through the medium about attitudes to corruption, to attitudes to keeping our community going, where they can be put in a focus group so they can see their peers accepting a certain kind of imagery, how we can even color the way our own people think of ourselves as we tutor them not to litter through a medium that they want to go to willingly.
Yes.
We're missing a significant opportunity by leaving this out.
Wow.
Okay. Well, I mean, looking at the way most of us consume film right now, I mean, all you have to do is be sitting in your car, and they have, as you said, the VCDs just being sold. So it's easier. But let's look on the flip side of it. Now, if there is a revival in cinema, and I won't name them, there are TV stations right now in this country who take pirated movies. It could be Silverbird could be showing a movie, and they'll put it on their channel. There seem to be really, I don't know, censorship laws. I don't know what the laws of Ghana are doing. Piracy from major TV stations. So how is that going to help our revival industry? If somebody, even if it's like Ghanaian filmmaker, and then people are just taking liberties, and international movies as well.
No, that can't be allowed to go on.
It's happening as we speak.
It's incredibly entertaining to speak on the wrong side of it, to wake up and suddenly find a movie that... But when you think of the amount of work and money that people have put in this product to bring to us to enjoy, and it's possible for us to enjoy it in various different phases, I really wonder what it's supposed to achieve. I wonder what the TV station, how it's thinking. Because it's only a few years or months down the line when somebody will clamp down on it severely. It's a worldwide industry now. Everything we're watching here, people can monitor on the internet. When we were nobody knew who we were completely in the shadow. Now we're the fourth best place to visit on earth. Listen, I mean, they're watching, and very soon they'll clamp down. And they can clamp down and destroy a complete television station. So my suggestion is that they should just get off that. It's not a particularly intelligent thing to do.
Yeah.
But the important thing is, it is also creating a habit that will harm the industry in Ghana. And the industry, TV stations and the TV industry itself will have a problem if they don't allow the industry to grow and create the material that they will use for. TV.
Okay, let's talk about material then, because now I would say, in my personal opinion, 80% of the films that are done here in Ghana or Nigeria sensationalize sex, witchcraft, and basically celebrate mediocrity, if you ask me. How is it that if we have a new local cinema boom, we actually, put decent stuff out when we don't have decent stuff at the moment? I mean, filmmakers are churning out movies every week, every 2 weeks. The amounts of films that are coming out are horrendous and numerous. The quality hasn't increased, but yet we want to set up cinemas and to show these mediocre productions?
No, you see, it's an interesting conundrum, because what it is that if you show it in cinema, then you blow the horrid deed in every eye. You see, when you show it on a larger scale and on a much more public platform, things that you can almost privately sell to an individual person, you can't sell to the public. Mm-hmm. Right now, I can only take your word for it, for what you're saying. But if it was on cinema, it would be public opinion. That is why, even in the United States, there are certain things that they won't show on cinema, because the public will be so outraged that the production house, the director, everybody involved in it will face something.
But that's a good point, though. Okay, let me ask you this then, because we celebrate, we will put witchcraft in our movies, have people flying, heads being cut off, but there's never a horror film shown at the mall because they say it's too real.
There you go. There you go. You know what I'm saying? If it's in the public view and your kids are watching this sort of thing and there is something deleterious about it, you will hear people saying it loudly. But when I'm buying a one-on-one in an individual sale, then it takes time to agglomerate the opinion. The opinion doesn't come together quickly. It's only you saying it and taking your word for it and going on, having an opportunity on television. But if we're all watching it, and we know that when our kids go into a cinema hall, they're watching crap, you'll hear from the cinema hall, And also, there used to be something called the news. There was a news element that was shown before the film.
Yes.
And
public service.
Yes, and the first president used it as a sounding board for what people thought. So another very significant aspect of cinema is it's an incredibly important feedback channel, where opinions aggregate. When you ask individual people, you get individual opinions that you count together. But when you have people in a room after room across the country, watching something, their collective opinion becomes aggregated. And you see a lot of information. If we had cinema, I dare say the case against corruption would be more boldly made.
Actually,
that's a good one.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Okay, I mean, where do you see, this whole cinema revival? Is it a pipe dream, do you think, based on the fact that you said there's the will? The will simply doesn't seem to be there. I think there's a few people who are really fighting for it. So, is the future bleak or is it promising?
Surprisingly, it's not bleak, and I would suggest that entrepreneurs in the industry should begin to think about it quickly before it's taken out of their hands. Because I'm privy to some discussion from people outside this country who are prepared to come in and throw in all the cinema halls we need in this country immediately. In fact, what they're looking for, certain preconditions, that suggests that the industry must have a guiding and leading body so they know who to talk to if there's an infringement.
Censorship board.
Censorship
National
board.
Media community.
Not censorship board talks about the kind of content that we should discuss. And for some time, there was some impression that the Constitution did not allow censorship. So anybody could
just do anything what they want.
And then call it anything as close to, nasty as it could, and, look like being smart. You couldn't before. But, you see, there should be something like, within the industry itself, a governing... I always look at GPRTU, because the simplest explanation I can find. They've looked at their common interest. They've looked at the things that can affect them. They have taken steps to come together to ensure that they have a controlling influence on the industry, so that if anybody wants to affect them, they have to affect them through the GPRTU. Yeah. That is what the industry entrepreneurs outside are looking for in Ghana.
Right.
And with that is there, they are ready to put in the theaters because it's a significant revenue stream and it's an extremely important advertising for video sales.
Yes. And it's also a good way to get our youth off the streets.
It's a very good way, very entertaining.
Okay, you touched on the fact that having the right bodies to, I guess, implement. But this is the thing, in terms of, most filmmakers will tell you in Ghana, we don't have like a proper system where you have in distribution, exhibition, so forth. Even a lot of the times you hear of this body, there's infighting, there's no unity, or people are not, if some law, or if they're given a mandate, they don't see it through. So how important is these groups, for them to get together and sort themselves out, essentially?
Mandy, I'm completely mortified to say that I don't know. Again, the road transport people looked around and said, look, we've got to put our heads together and secure our industry. And they put it together, and they can get funding from government to buy vehicles that they pay for later. It isn't nuclear physics. It isn't something we as an industry shouldn't be able to do. What I'm particularly tired of is the constant, I was going to use a word that's not television. That's constantly going on.
Bickering.
Let's say bickering. That's close.
Yes, to be nice.
That's
bickering.
Close to what I wanted to say. And it's nonsensical, in my opinion. There's another effort being gathered now to basically say, look, let's just take this organization as our lead organization and constitute it the way we want to and move on from there. This childish personalization that stops a good idea from happening simply because the person who's saying it is somebody you don't like is kindergarten. Mm-hmm. It's not industry. So if anybody wants to talk about the industry, I'd like to see that first. Otherwise, please spare me.
I like that. There was during the 60s, 70s in America, when they had the Vietnam War and all the rest of it. Do you know how they actually got their messages to the students? Drive-through cinemas.
Yes.
Drive-through cinemas. They would have huge fields. Everyone would bring their own car. There'd be a big screen. All you do is you pay your admission. You sit in your own car or talk to your friends. All the rest of it.
And you could have got popcorn and buy popcorn.
And they would put out their public service announcements. Yeah, they put out the recruitment announcements. Everything all before a film is shown. And those guys were educated as well as entertained. All of them.
And it's you're dead on. And it's many other things that also came through the film itself. I mean, the films, anti-Vietnam War films that came through.
Loads of them at that period.
The way the American people went after the government to stop the war, a lot of it came from the films, the content, and this made the filmmakers relevant. They started talking about, that's when witchcraft doesn't become useful. When you can make films that will reach people at a large scale and talk about issues in an entertaining way, you can use other things to make your film. Yeah. But when it's one-on-one, you use sensationalism.
Well, we have to say thank you for coming in. We've actually run out of time about discussing this. And to our filmmakers, let's be a bit more innovative and educative. And hopefully when we set up cinemas, you will be featuring on our silver screens as well.